St Janani Luwum, the former Anglican Archbishop, Church of Uganda, was murdered on February 16, 1977 in Nakasero, Kampala. However, despite his high-ranking status, he was denied a state burial. But why? Reports indicate that President Idi Amin personally shot Archbishop Luwum, who was 53 years old, just 3 years after being consecrated as Archbishop, Anglican Church of Uganda. Instead of being buried at Namirembe Cathedral, as expected, he was secretly transported and buried at St Paul Church of Uganda at Wii Gweng, Mucwini Subcounty in Kitgum District. But how did this happen? On February 8, 1977, Archbishop Luwum and 17 other Anglican bishops wrote a protest letter to President Idi Amin condemning the continued killing and disappearance of Ugandans. This came just 3 days after Amin soldier raided Luwum's home in Namirembe, accusing him of hiding guns to overthrow the government. One of the signatories, Right Reverend Binuni Ogwal, the then Bishop of Diocese of Northern Uganda, believes that this letter angered President Amin and led to Luwum's assassination.
In 1977, it was something that happened. We were part of the House of Bishops of the Church of Uganda. We met in Namirembe, and we made a decision that we were going to join Janani in this prophetic ministry. We wrote a long letter to the president asking for understanding and for the protection of everyone. And I think part of the message that probably angered Idi Amin was saying something like, the gun which was intended to protect the people was now turned against the people of Uganda. And that, I think, was the thing that really made him upset. And from that day on, it was just a matter of time.
On February 15, 1977, a notice was sent to all government employees to report to the International Conference Center the next day for an important event. This event turned out to be a public trial where Idi Amin accused Luwum and other bishops of attempting to overthrow his government. During the gathering, soldiers separated Luwum from other bishops, taking him to Nile Mansion, claiming His Excellency wanted to see him alone. His driver and fellow bishops were told to leave. Apollo Wodukilwa, a former senior manager at Radio Uganda, was detained in the same underground tunnel where Luwum and two ministers, Charles Obarfumi and Namirembe, were later taken. Now recall how the three were free into the tunnel before their execution.
The 16th of February, 1977, of course, the announcement was that all the senior government officials, plus the religious leaders, must be senior army officers at the conference center. I was beaten unconscious, this is right, on the 15th, and thrown into a sort of a tunnel. I woke up the next morning, and the place was quiet, no, nothing. They had all gone to the conference. There were some prisoners who were in another cell, were carried in there. It's only at 4 o'clock when you heard a lot of noise. The cell, which I call it a dungeon now, was not alone. There were a lot of other prisoners. And these prisoners were taken, some of them were taken to go and make false confession at the conference center. When they arrived there, they were promised that if they accept to read false statement involving St Janani Luwum and co, they would be released. but that was to no avail. As soon as they finished, they rushed him back. And Janani was arrested, and by 4 o'clock is when he arrived. With 2 ministers, that is both Fumbi and Namirembe. The sort of damage and pain which I was disappeared, because this was a new situation. I was wondering with the few prisoners we were there to see, of all the people, first of all, they arrived with the ministers. Wow, this thing has gone to the extent of arresting the senior ministers like this. And then only 10, 15 minutes, Janani Luwum.
At around 8 p.m. February 16, 1977, President Amin himself arrived at the State Research Bureau, Nakasero, dressed in military fatigue with pistol on both hips. Inside Farut Miniwa's office, Amin ordered Archbishop Luwum and 2 ministers to be brought before him. Despite being beaten and kicked, Luwum stood firm and declaring he innocent and freed. A moment later, gunshot rang out. Amin had killed the Archbishop.
When he was taken there, together with these 2 ministers, Namirembe and Fumbi, then soon after that Amin came. It was Amin himself who took a pistol and shot Archbishop Luwum in his mouth. The bullet passed through his side. This was witnessed by the people of Mucwini. Some of them are still alive. They opened the coffin and saw that is the way he was killed.
To cover the murder, Amin resumed stated fake car accident near senior officers mess, formerly Uganda Club, on the morning of 17 February. Ambassador Mwaka David, who worked as principal cultural officer in Amin's government, witnessed the incident and recalled state crash.
That day, when Archbishop Janani Luwum was murdered, I was driving to my house at Nakasero. My house was at Nakasero. He too was at Nakasero. His house was at Nakasero. We were all at Nakasero. I was driving to pick my little daughter, who was in a nursery school. Our firstborn was in a nursery school run by some white woman who taught me at Makerere University. On Nakasero Road, the nursery was there. And not far from the school, the nursery school, I found a vehicle, a beautiful vehicle, a new vehicle, but completely mangled, as if it was deliberately done. And after picking my daughter from the school and driving, taking her home nearby, I called my wife. At that time, she was teaching at Kibuli Senior Secondary School. I said, I saw something I couldn't believe. Beautiful vehicle. Looks like it was deliberately damaged. Then in the evening, there was something on television. There was a report that Archbishop Janani Luwum had died in a motor accident, they said, together with 2 ministers. Then they brought a man, they said, was driving the vehicle. This was one of the means murderous officers, the army, called himself Moses Okello. The Moses Okello came walking, crutches, 2 crutches, showing that he had been badly hurt. They said, they see, been very badly hurt. He was involved in that accident because these 3 people had tried to fight him. But after that, Moses was now beginning to walk away. When he was walking away, he forgot to continue limping. He was now walking normally. He held his crutches in his hand. He was just walking. And that was the time people said, that cannot be true. It was not an accident. It was deliberate. After they had killed them from State Research Bureau, they put their bodies in that vehicle. And then a military tank damaged it.
The news of Luwum death spread quickly, causing fear and despair across Uganda. Former resident district commissioners Mucwini and retired head teacher Kurt Isaac recalled the nationwide grief that followed.
1977, when Luwum was murdered, I don't know what else elsewhere in Uganda, but I think the sunshine that we see today, the clouds covered Uganda, as far as I can recall. The clouds covered Uganda. There was no sunshine, not as bright. Everybody, I don't know if you're a human being, you knew that that was your day also to die. What would you live for? You would not see 10 minutes ahead of you, whether you'd still be alive. Even if you were alone in your own room, you would feel that you were dead. The death of Janani Luwum cast a big shadow, a big cloud hung on Uganda. The whole place was gloomy. Me, I couldn't even imagine I would be alive the next day. And nobody was looking for me. I was deep in the village. I had run. I was deep in the village. So, it was a bad time. It was a really bad time.
In fact, there was almost darkness all over Acholi land. That is where I was living. People were not happy. Everybody was mourning. Some were weeping, crying, and in fact, casting the world for that accident. A very bad day for everybody in the country.
Church leaders planned to bury Luwum at Namirembe Cathedral, but Amin soldier intercepted the body, secretly transporting it to Mucwini Subcounty in Kitgum District. On the night of February 17, nervous and afraid, the soldier dropped past Mucwini and continued to Namirembe, where Shuma military barracks were located. They spent the night there before returning to Luwum's mother's compound on February 18. However, his mother, Namirembe, refused to bury his son at home, saying, "I have given my son to the church." Ambassador Dr. Olaro, the author of Bishop Janani Luwum, the life and witness of the 20th century matters, narrates a real conversation with Amin soldiers.
When they brought the body to the family compound, the mother, Namirembe, said, "No, we cannot bury him here. I had long time ago given him to God. So you take him and bury him. The little church is up there at Wii Gweng. Go and bury him there." That was the only role the family played. So anyhow, to answer your question, the family has now made a definitive decision that he will not be reburied, he will not be exhumed. Where he is now, where the Amin soldiers placed him in the dead of night, that will now remain his permanent resting place. Everything else will be organized around that.
The soldiers struggled to dig a grave due to the rocking ground. After 3 failed attempts, local finally helped them to find a suitable spot on February 19. Reverend Nelson Onononoen, who was a teacher at Kitgum High School at the time, recalled going to Wii Gweng to see the body of Janani Luwum.
When he was killed, I was 32 years old. And I had 2 children. I was teaching in Kitgum High School, based in the girls' wing, which is now known as a Court YY Girls Secondary School. That was where I was teaching, and we got the news that the Archbishop was killed and the body was taken to Mucwini. That was the news we had in Kitgum, that the body passed Kitgum town in the night. I learned about it around 1 o'clock. I was in the town riding my bicycle in the town. Then a businessman called Ejira Kibwara gave a tractor for those who wanted to go where the body was lying. 7 women boarded the tractor. I was the only clergy who joined the women, and I put on my cassock, black cassock. Yes, and 3 men, the driver, the conductor, and myself. I think we took off around 2 o'clock to go to Mucwini on a tractor. I think we arrived there around 5 o'clock. We didn't find the place dead silent. We found people there. The women were there. Few men were there. I joined 2 clergy who were already there on the site where the body was lying in St. Paul Church. It was not easy. It was not easy for many people to go where the body was lying. Everybody was scared. Are we okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Everybody was scared. So that night, that very night we arrived, the 3 clergy who were there, the parish priest, the late Reverend Canon Okech was the parish priest, the late Reverend Obuo was the parish priest of Agoro. No, Maripe, where the body was taken first. I think it was Maripe, not Agoro.
As the sun set on February 18, the angry and frightened soldier left the body inside the church and went to find food. They did not return that night. This allowed relatives and some of the clergy to secretly open the coffin, trace, and the paraffin lanterns confirming gunshot was on his neck, abdomen, chest, right heels. There was also a deep cut on his back, bruised forehead, and private parts were covered with a warp bangle.
The late Obuo, Reverend Obuo, was also there on the hill. So in the night, 3 of us, 3 clergy, the late Ejira Kibwara, who was the owner of bus known as Lodgen Bus Company, and the cousin brother of the Archbishop Aloni. He asked us to go and confirm whether the body of the Archbishop was in that coffin. So we went around 1 a.m. because the lamp was inside there. There was light in there. So we walked behind the church. We entered, quite scared, not knowing what would happen to us, because we thought Amin's men could be around and we would be risking our life, but we decided to go. Fortunately, I think they were not around. If they were there, they didn't disturb us. We opened the coffin, we confirmed he was our Archbishop lying in the coffin. We closed the body was already getting spoiled.
On the morning of February 19, soldier finally dug the grave, and at 3 p.m., Archbishop Janani Luwum body was lowered into the ground. 3 days after his murder, without any embalming, a brief prayers was conducted by 4 preachers led by Reverend Nelson Onwe, who was just 32 years old at the time.
So the following day, the burial arrangement was to be made. The people dug all the grave. Now, who was to preach? Senior clergy were not there. I was 1 month old as a priest. I was made a priest on the 16th January when I was priested. I was no longer a deacon. So I was asked to preach. I was 32 years old and I accepted to preach. I felt that was an honor to me, a young man, to preach at such an occasion. And I still remember my subject was the good shepherd. The good shepherd. You know, the good shepherd in the Bible, our Lord Jesus Christ said, would give his life for his flock. And that's exactly what the Archbishop did. If he were not a good shepherd, he would have fled the country. He knew his life was in danger. He knew. He knew. He would have fled the country. But he fought the good faith. He fought the good faith as a good shepherd until he died.
His wife, Mrs. Brenda Onono, was among the few women who arrived to Wii Gweng to pay their last respect.
The water mean what tractor, the what, Mucwini, a year, young away a year, run. Tia Mirugang. If I am Mirugang, I know that you don't know local. Tiana, what the animal time of the Mucwini. Anyway, I in which Mucwini and the Mucwini. What he cruise, Macau, Tergangwa. Prosi endikimi maputi kwera la diro kwanya prosi enuni kwa chero kerekanga kibwara krata itwela tio no wano worno ti an kimen atalu kibwara ki wele wono ati Mucwini wana de ki tanboy ki driver wana bi eno mere wa do wana bi Carmadu, Kinamni and O, Udoni Tractor, Dan Maticho, a thing way, I could eat away of the money. And all, get more wing, get my aunt with down at you one, drop down at you, getting it. Bill ye, what the Anna Vichero Cato, here, what talk I cheer. Tea, what our word, cha beer, Mr. Mucwini. The way Mucwini Bedonia, young Montu, Californo, why you will go caro. And the Tecaluma, or water over Mucwini, La Bonne, La Munma, La Bono, down you, don't know in Agada. Chiwa O, Carmo O, but out pack, or pack, Domuno tea, but don't go with a good joy now, Bennett. Bakarawan o mi kero bakak wo burli o wo dikone tege mi ni en majar rewran matiri ayewo yik wona adisho liet yo matir nope rudio yo matir biru diko en uburu iku mabe gen yo men Archbishop ki rewran o ke ki rewran bo What you are going to let it make more done in early January. Doctor make it cheer in the query, and then a dog bark, it's here. Cow people in the early lega virtue, and your terror, Paramedic Luwum, you change a bit, you mean, and out the look.
During Reverend Onono Onweng's 80th birthday and 50 years of preachwood, Bishop Luwum Diocese Dr. Alfred Luwum raised his courage in burying Archbishop Luwum at just a young age.
At 32 years old, he found himself at the forefront of the most dangerous and defining moments in Uganda's history. Mado etiki ma appear death berio kekeni any wo kikar mo ma oberu tekade da ikone matie history mi Uganda. But with great courage and strength from the Lord, he was able to serve the Lord. We particularly salute you for being able to bury our Father in God, St Janani Luwum, for the courage you took and for the way you had to serve in that way. That did Bishop Nelson. What me war my did before my did Bitte King Melber Pere, me one as Bishop Janani Luwum. Throughout his ministry, Bishop Onono has been a witness to the power of God's favor. He has risen above the challenges of a violent civil war in northern Uganda and the trauma of South Sudanese conflict. And so as we read in this passage, promise of God, those who hope in the Lord will find their strength renewed. And truly Bishop Onono's life has been a testimony to this.
The 48th St Janani Luwum Memorial Anniversary will be commemorated on Sunday, February 16, 2025 at Wii Gweng, Mucwini Subcounty in Kitgum District.